Hey guys, Vanikin3 here today with a tier list of Generation 2 bug Pokemon. I'm also including Generation 1 bug Pokemon since there is that split between the special attack and the special defense that we saw with Generation 2. So if you did see the short that I posted about Generation 1, we're kind of seeing how Generation 1 bugs fare in Generation 2. So I'm mainly looking at the base stats of the Pokemon, the diversity of its move pool, and how well it fares against the gym battles and the Elite Four battles, and where it can kind of sit. So if I give a bad ranking to one of your favorite Pokemon, or you think I'm being unjustly fair or way too nice to a Pokemon, definitely let me know in the comments below, as well as if you enjoy the video, like and subscribe, because it really helps out the channel and I greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, let's hop into this. So I think without any surprise, we're going to be putting Weedle, Caterpie, Metapod, and Kakuna all in F tier. They're staying in F tier. Generation 2 did not give them, yeah, it gave them, I think, another 20 to their base stat total because of the split, but they don't get any more moves. They don't really get anything. You know, they're still bad. You're still going to lose if you try to bring them in a battle in the gyms. So just don't. Evolve them. Get them up to Butterfree and Beedrill. That being said, Butterfree, I don't think it gets up to A tier. I still really like that it gets psychic attacks. I still really like that it gets powder moves, but its speed just isn't there yet, right? And without abilities, because we don't see abilities till Gen 3, the lower accuracy of the powder moves, I just think that Butterfree sits at B tier really well. But it's still solid. I still think it's a solid choice. Beedrill, actually, I think in Gen 1 I said it at B tier. I think it's now C tier. I think with the new gyms that you have to face and the new Elite Four, I just don't think Beedrill really sits as well in kind of the mix of things. You know, its speed is pretty good and it still has the critical hit chances and it still has the multi-attacks, but it doesn't really, it doesn't have super powerful moves, so it kind of, I'm dropping it to C because it's not great in the gyms. Ledian and Lediba, let's take a look at Lediba first. I think that for a stage 1 Pokemon, or stage 0, however you kind of look at that stuff, I think that it has great special defense and it has good supporting moves, but it can't really do much outside of that. And Ledian stays at C tier for the same reason, where it has a great, even better, I think it's a base 110 special defense, which is really good for a bug. That's like anything above 100 I feel like is a good stat, but it doesn't really have much attack. It really only can sit there and support, so not really going to be doing much with it other than maybe setting up walls. Now Ariados is F tier. I think it has some really cool support moves, and it, you know, it can kind of create some statuses, but it doesn't have stats. Its stats are terrible. Its speed is super low. It just won't be able to do any damage, so it's going to get knocked out before you can even move. If you get lucky, maybe you can poison, but otherwise you're not really doing much with it. Ariados, I put it at D tier just because it's a bit better than Spinarak, but it's still super slow. It can't really do much. So yeah, you might be able to get a status and it's better than Spinarak, but it's not great. It's really not that great. Paris, I think, can sit in D tier as well. I really like it. Has a base 70 attack stat, which is super high for, you know, the first stage Pokemon. I think that's crazy. And it does have a pretty good spread of moves, but the problem is that its speed, I think, is base 25. It's super slow. Yeah, you might be able to get off a Spore. Yeah, you might be able to get a hit off, but it's just not going to be doing too much. But that being said, I think that Parasect can go to B tier. I don't think it's an A tier, unfortunately, because of its speed. Looking at the new gyms that you get with Generation 2, yes, Grass type is good against a lot of them, and the grass bug typing can kind of resist some attacks. That speed really makes it to where against some of the neutral gyms or some of the mid-game gyms and the Elite Four that you might get one hit, maybe not. You're just gonna kind of get blown away. So it's B tier. it's almost there. If it just had some more speed, then I think it could be better. But then we look at Venonat. Venonat is D tier. Venonat, I think, it's much better than the F tier, first stage Pokemon, but it basically can do what Ariados does, and it's a little bit faster. Like, you got some powder moves, you might be able to attack with it, but it's not fully there. That being said, though, Venomoth, with its base 90 speed, that's definitely the first A tier, because it's just a better Butterfree. It gets psychic attacks, it gets psychic, it gets Psybeam, it gets psychic attacks like Butterfree does, but you also have that faster speed for the powder move. So you might actually be able to get a couple more powder moves off than you would if you were Butterfree. So I think that it works really well. Now, Pineco goes back to being D tier. Pineco's D tier. It has a great defense. I'm pretty sure it gets Explosion, has a pretty good attack, but its base speed is like 15 or 20. Like, you're always going to be going last, unless you're 10 levels, 20 levels above a wild Pokemon. And yeah, while its defense is good and might be able to take a hit, it has a couple of cool support moves. If it gets hit by one special attack, especially a special fire attack, goodbye, see you later, you're gone. And Fortress, for the same reason, I want to put it at C tier. Yes, it's better than Pineco, but the problem is that its defense is great, but one fire attack melts it. Yeah, maybe get an explosion off, but your speed is so slow that you might not even get that attack off. So I think it sits at C tier. I think it's not terrible, and it can definitely wall physical attackers, but it's just not there. The speed is really what it's lacking. Now, Yanma has the speed, but it doesn't have a move pool. It has no moves. Like, if it had some moves, it's not terrible on attack, so it might be able to do something, and it could probably outspeed quite a few Pokemon, but it doesn't have the moves. There's just no moves. And, going back down to a super slow Pokemon, you got Shuckle, where, yeah, it has the best defenses in the game. I think it's base 235 or something for its defenses, but its HP is like base 25. Attack and defense are both, or attack and special attack are both base 15. Speed, I think, is base 5. Like, the rest of its stats, while its defense is amazing, it doesn't have enough HP to kind of keep it around. It does get good supporting moves, though. So it could maybe take a couple of attacks, and Bug Rock is a neat combo towards not super effective, with fire or with fighting. So it can kind of cover some stuff, which is neat. So you might be able to get some, Toxics or some Spikes set up. So I put it as C tier because it's good support, can get a couple of those support moves off, but it's not doing anything unless you just sit there and heal Scum and just keep healing while the Pokemon is getting ticked by Toxic. But good luck against Steelix and Gengar is all I gotta say. So Pinsir, I'm pretty sure I put Pinsir up in A tier for the Generation 1 list. Unfortunately, it's moving down to B tier. The only stab bug move I think it gets is Fury Cutter, but that's 10 base power, and the rest of its moves aren't good. Like, it has a great base attack, I think, at 125, but it doesn't get any moves. Like, it gets, counter is 80 power, but 80 accuracy, and has recoil damage. So, okay, yeah, you can get a big hit off, but you're going to be recoiling a ton of damage, and then, you're going to get one shot because your speed isn't great. So I think while Pinsir is an option and can deal some damage and can even have some fun with Guillotine and the one-hit KOs, I can't justify putting it anything above B tier, but I also think its attack warrants it to be in B tier. Scizor, I definitely think should be A tier. I think its attack and defense is fantastic. Really, the only thing that holds it back is doesn't really have a bug stab move and doesn't have speed, which why I think that its first stage of Scyther should also be in A tier. I think that they should both be in A tier because they're kind of two sides to the same coin. And we also see that kind of in other games as well with, Unite, where you can kind of choose if you want to go Scyther or Scizor. They, Scyther is super fast and still has a great attack. And with the flying type attacks that you can get, I think it's a great matchup against a lot of the gyms and a lot of the Elite Four members' Pokemon. So I think that, you know, A tier for both Scyther and Scissor, they work really well. And Heracross is the last Pokemon, and I think it's also A tier. I think its move pool is fantastic. So while, yeah, it's not super fast, I think that its move pool really is, it's the best move pool out of bug types for offensive pressure, and so that really kind of makes it, you know, stand alone in the A tier. And I think it's kind of similar to what Venomoth gets, where Venomoth can be a little bit faster, get those psychic attacks. Heracross is not as fast, but it has Mega Horn, so it can finally like stab big stab hits with bug. So that's my tier list. I think, you know, it's pretty fair for the most part, but again, let me know what your thoughts are. If I got any of these Pokemon wrong, definitely yell at me down below, and hopefully I'll see you for the next one. But thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. See ya.